Good day everyone, I am Sweety at Ledesma and I am the first reporter, and we are going to report about the angiosperms or flowering plants. But first, let's have the objectives. So first, understand the concept of angiosperm. Second, learn about the features and classifications. And last is to know the importance of angiosperms. So let's have the definition. So in that image, it showcases the examples. These are the examples of angiosperms, which is the flowering plants. So let's have the definition of angiosperms. So what is angiosperms? Of course, it is a plant that produces seeds that are enclosed in fruit, and they are largest and most diverse group within the kingdom Plantae, with about 300 species. So kung bulog ito ng angiosperm, it means it contains seeds, and also it comprises the vast majority of all plant foods that we eat, including grains, beans, fruits, vegetables, and mostly nuts. So in that case, in that idea, it simply means that, or it simply emphasizes that angiosperms dominate Earth's surface, which as a result, these are the most important ultimate source of food for birds, mammals, animals, and of course that includes us humans. So, but of course, they have stems, roots, and leaves. So next is we have the evolutionary development of angiosperms. We have angiosperms evolved during the late Cretaceous period, about 125 to 100 million years ago. So this that leaf emphasizes that it is the leaf that is present and shows a ficus speciosissima, and an angiosperm that flourished during the Cretaceous period. So it is a large number of pollinating. Also, Cretaceous period is having a large number of pollinating insects that appear during that time. So kung mula kita na Cretaceous period, it is a geological period way back then. So we have here the characteristics of angiosperms. So first, we have the angiosperms have developed flowers and also fruits, of course. So flowers serve as the reproductive organs for the plant. It's very understandable that the life cycle of angiosperms starts with reproductive organs for the plant, which is the flower itself. So flowers have a wide array of colors, shapes, smells of all of which are for the purpose of attracting pollinators. So that characteristics, it plays important role during the pollination. So later on, we will be going to discuss what is pollination. So we have roots, stems, and leaves, and also we have the xylem and phloem. So kung bulong kita ng xylem, it conveys water and dissolved minerals from the roots to the shoots. So ang phloem is, it transports food made in leaves to the roots and developing leaves and fruits. So that is the characteristic of angiosperms. We have also heard the characteristic features of angiosperms. So the angiosperms have the following characteristic features. So these are flowering plants that have seeds covered under fruits. These are eukaryotic, so it means it is multicellular and non-motile living organisms. And also these are land plants that have diverse habitats. Their plant body is divided into three. We have roots, we have stem, and we have leaves. So they have a well-defined vascular system consisting of xylem and phloem vessels, and also secondary growth is seen in angiosperms. So this can be annual or perennial, evergreen or deciduous, and woody to herbaceous. So this consists of herbs, shrubs, herbs, shrubs, and trees. So angiosperms vary in size, from duckweed being the smallest one to eucalyptus being the tallest one. So the sex organs, of course, are found in flower. That is the biggest or the major characteristic of angiosperms. So reproduction in angiosperms is aided by pollination, as I've mentioned earlier. So in angiosperm, the ovule forms the seed and the ovary form the fruit. It will be discussed later on. So next is we have the structure of angiosperms. As we can see, we have 5 structures of angiosperms: the pistil, the stamen, the petal, the sepal, and the stem. So kung mula kita na stamen, it emphasizes the male reproductive organ of a flower, and also we have the pistil, which is the female reproductive organ of the flower. So we have the pistil, which is the female. At under pistil is we have stigma, the style, the ovary, and the ovule. So as we can see, it is been labeled. It is labeled accordingly. We have also the stamen, the anther, and the filament, and the petal, the sepal, and the stem or the receptacle. So that is the structure of angiosperms, as we can see in the provided image. So we have the reproductive structures and the life cycle of an angiosperm. So of course we have the life cycle of angiosperms, and that is started with flowers, because flower is the reproductive organ of angiosperm. So flowers, it contain both male and female reproductive parts, but they don't always have both. So through the process of pollination and fertilization, flowers produce seeds. Each seed contains a new plant waiting for the right conditions to grow. So pollination, it's stated that pollination it has the involvement of transferring or transport of pollens. So later on, these are the parts of the flower. As we can see, we have also the pistil, we have also the stamen, the leaf, the stem, the receptacle, the sepal, and the xylem flowing, and so on and so forth. And it also labeled accordingly sa ila mga tawag and functions. So flowers have 2 primary parts, the vegetative part and the reproductive part. So kung mula kita na vegetative part, it includes the petals and sepals. So that petals and sepals are the plays an important role sa flower, and also sa pollination, the process or the life cycle of angiosperms, because it attracts the pollinator to have the pollen, and it transport the pollen to another or by itself. So we have the vegetative parts of a flower, the petals. Petals are usually the most noticeable part of flower and serve a vital function in attracting pollinators. So the vibrant colors and enticing scents of petals attract pollinators such as bees, butterflies, and birds. As we observe sa flower, we have the petals. So petals have variety of colors. We have pink, red, and the process or the life cycle of angiosperms, because it attracts the pollinator to have the pollen, and it transport the pollen to another or by itself. So we have the vegetative parts of a flower, the petals. Petals are usually the most noticeable part of flower and serve a vital function in attracting pollinators. So the vibrant colors and enticing scents of petals attract pollinators such as bees, butterflies, and birds. As we observe sa flower, we have the petals. So petals have variety of colors. We have pink, red, and so on and so forth. So in that case, pollinator will attack the petals, and in that way, the life cycle of angiosperms or the life cycle of angiosperms started. So we have the sepals. These are small modified leaves that enclose and protect the flower bud before it opens. So they are often green, but in some flowers they are brightly colored and resemble the petals. So number 3, receptacle. This is the part of the flower where the flower attaches to the stalk. So the peduncle. The peduncle is the formal name for a flower stalk. So next, we have the reproductive parts of a flower. So as I mentioned earlier, we have the male parts and the female parts, and that includes the stamen and the pistil. So we have the male reproductive organ of a flower, the stamen or androecium, the anther. This part of the stamen produces and contains pollen. So ang anther ang magproduce ng pollen, ang filament is a stalk that holds up the anther, making the pollen accessible to pollinators or wind. So ang female parts is we have the stigma, the style, the ovary, and the ovule. So stigma is the part where this is the part of the pistil that receives. It is often sticky or feathery for trapping and holding onto the pollen grain. So stigma is the receiver of pollen grains. And then style, this is the long tube-like structure that connects the stigma and the ovary. And in that way, the stigma will pass the pollen into style, and then in ovary, and then in ovule. So ovary, this is the part of the pistil that holds the ovules. It is within the ovary that fertilization occurs and seeds develop. So ovule, it is the potential seed within the ovary. So each ovule contains an egg cell. When an ovule is fertilized by a sperm cell from a pollen grain, so it develops into seed. So we have the angiosperm pollination, which is the life cycle where it is the life cycle of through this life cycle of angiosperms continue to grow. So pollination, it is the transfer of pollen from male to female parts of a flower, which is essential for fertilization and seed production. So when we're going to say pollination, it involves crossing or doing by itself with the help of pollinators. So pollination, it is usually happens in 2 ways. We have the self-pollination and the cross-fertilization. So self, it is the pollen from the plant's own anthers fertilizes its ovule. So by the word itself, self-pollination, so it means the pollen itself will grow through pollinator kibali, magproduce yan ng another species, which is kapareha dagap niya. So the cross-fertilization or the cross-pollination, it involves two different kind of plant that fertilizes the ovule. So in that case, pollinators will attack the another plant to move from one to another. So and it accomplishes this by taking a ride on an insect or animal, or it can be wind. So that is the pollination. That will be the process of pollination, from self-pollination to cross-pollination, which involves of 2 different kinds of plant to fertilize the ovules, and that will result to produce new seeds or new species or new organism of a flower. So as we can see, these are the examples of angiosperms. We have the roses, the lilies, the geraniums, and tulips. We have the eggplant, the tomato, the potato, and the corn. We have the rice, the wheat, the sugar, and coffee, and of course mango, orange, grape, and apple, dandelion, sunflower, maple, and oak. So that as we can see, the picture emphasizes flowering plants. That is angiosperms. So that includes my report, and next we have the next reporter. Thank you and God bless.
Features of angiosperm. First, process of develop flowers and fruits. Second, flowers serves as the reproductive organs for the plant. Third, flowers have a wide array of colors, shapes, and smells, all of which are for the purpose of attracting pollinators. Fourth, roots, stems, and leaves. Fifth, xylem and phloem. Well, angiosperm classified into two, monocots and dicots. Monocotyledons or monocots, embryo with single cotyledon, major leaf bends parallel, flower parts in multiple of three, stem vascular bundles, example, lilies, orchids, and grasses. Dicotyledons or dicots, embryo with two cotyledons, major leaf veins reticulated, flower parts in multiple of 4 or 5, stem vascular bundles in a ring, example, roses, cactus, tobacco, and pumpkin. Xylem structures and functions. Transport water and mineral salt from roots to stem to leaves. And directional. It composed of hollow non-living cells or continuous lumen. It provides mechanical support to plant because of lignified phloem structures and functions. The functions of phloem tissue is to transport dissolved sugar, usually sucrose, from where they are made the leaves to where they are needed the rest of the plant. In particular, growing point where new cells are made, storage organs often in the roots. Importance of angiosperm. Provide, provide food and shelter for land animals. Provide nearly all of our food directly or indirectly. Their fibers are used to make clothing. Furniture comes from their wood. We extract medicines and psychoactive drugs from them.